Hello and welcome to the Hellraiser blog. Please guys, if you enjoyed today's blogs, hit the subscribe button. We love growing the Hellraiser boxing channel. Right, let's talk boxing. Brilliant night of boxing tonight. Frampton, Warrington. Brilliant fight. I was mesmerised by that fight. And we also had Dereck Chisora against Dillian Whyte, which had a lot of interest. I've got connections to all these, but apart from Josh Warrington, I've met Josh Warrington. I don't really know him. I know him as a boxer. I don't know him as a person. Dillian Whyte, obviously, he's boxed on my Hellraiser shows, so I've seen him from very early on in his career, and I took a big interest in him because of that. And he was clearly a talent. You know, I could see he was like shining from the beginning, and I knew he would do something good. You know, you speak to the opponents, and when they tell you, "Oh wow, when he hit me with that shot, the lights went out," that you tend to sort of follow them and see what they do. And I knew something exciting would happen. Well, it has, and he's obviously got a big fight lined up next because WBC #1, and really impressive in the way he dispatched Chisora. For me, Chisora isn't a top level operator, so I don't think you can sort of say he's elite level now. But it was a truly impressive finish. Dillian actually, I thought, used his brain more tonight. In the first fight, I felt it was almost like a macho thing. They both wanted to prove each other to be like the tougher and have a fight and outfight the other one. Chisora brought that again. You can't really blame him because that actually worked quite well for him last time. But you've got to say, well, I think Whyte actually outbrawled him in the brawl. And I was certain tonight he wasn't going to brawl, he was going to box, because the movement and the sort of using range and using angles is something that Whyte does very well, and he didn't do it really in the first fight. And I know Mark Tibbs, good boxing man, he would have said, right, you know, this is how we approach the rematch. And he did do that, and it worked very well for him. The commentators at Sky were sort of putting it across that, oh, this is a seesaw battle, you know, Chisora's coming back into it. For me, he wasn't. For me, Whyte was in front from the start, and he controlled the tempo, he controlled the range, he controlled the ring space. He didn't exactly play with Chisora, but he set him up, and certainly the finish, the left hook, that was not like a fluke chance. He waited for he could predict. Chisora was quite predictable in how he was coming in. He went for a right hand. Whyte let it drift past him, and as it missed, the finishing punch was huge. And Chisora, I was a trainer at Finchley Amateur Boxing Club the day that Dereck Chisora first ever walked in there, so I've always followed his career throughout, and to see him sort of completely spark out like that not nice. I think, to be honest, I think Chisora will get regurgitated. There's a massive demand for heavyweight boxing in the UK at the moment. I pretty much put my house on that Chisora Whyte will have outdone Frampton Warrington in the pay-per-view department as a technical boxing spectacle. Certainly the Frampton Warrington fight was far superior for me, far. I mean, those two are genuine world class in any era. It's a strange one because I remember, like, in the 90s we had like Ben Eubank in the UK, and then you had like James Toney and Michael Nunn and others in America, and they were like the same weight, both world champions. They never seemed to sort of fight each other. They sort of went on parallel paths. And Warrington and Frampton in any era for me would be world class. That was a really good fight. The only thing that was took the shine off it a little bit for me is that I think, and we predicted this in the preview of the fight, so, you know, follow these blogs, that there was just something in there that I think the timing suited Warrington that little bit better, and I think he seemed to have the edge throughout most of the fight there. I mean, Frampton had his moments, but he seemed to grow old in there, and he just seemed half a second off the pace, and he wasn't far off. He gave it a good go, he conducted himself well throughout, but he wasn't able to impose himself in the way that a little while ago he was. And I'm not having a dig at anybody, because I don't think it was Jamie Moore's tactics, I don't think it was the physical condition of Frampton. I just think that Frampton's had a good career, and I think tonight he he wasn't as sharp as he can be, or as he has been at times, and that's not a fault of the trainer. I actually felt sorry for the trainer because he's inherited a boxer who's like a world-class operator, and he's just that little bit, for me, looks like he's just that little bit maybe far gone past his best. And Warrington was absolutely 10 out of 10 on the night. He was so sharp, he was like a razor. He absolutely barely put a foot wrong, and very hard. I don't think the tactics that Frampton put in there, I don't think they were wrong. I think that they were the right tactics, but he just seemed like he couldn't quite compete with Warrington on the night. He could compete with him, he just couldn't outdo him. He couldn't find that extra. Frampton needed to be 10 out of 10, and he just didn't seem to get going. I know they said it was neutral ground before the fight even. I listened, because I was thinking already, well, Leeds is a lot easier to get to Manchester and back than Belfast. Even before the fight, you could hear the crowd cheering. It was definitely a pro-Warrington atmosphere, so it was like a home fight for Warrington. For me, it wasn't neutral, and I don't think that played a part. I don't think that's what swayed it. Well, it probably influenced in a positive way for Warrington, but I don't think that made the difference of the result of the fight. Warrington really impressed me tonight. I thought he really was the real deal. I mean, Frampton has been the real deal throughout his career, but. And we predicted this I predicted it in the blog. I thought, it's weird because I see Frampton as a better boxer, I see him as a better puncher, I see him as a technically a more sort of adept guy who can adapt very well to different things, and tactically he's very smart as well. But there was just something about the timing of the fight that I think Warrington's in the ascendancy. Frampton, I've got a feeling, is maybe just on the way down, and very good matchmaking from Warrington's side, and the fight, I was mesmerised by it. I mean, I had both the big pay-per-view fights that we had on Chisora and Whyte, and Frampton and Warrington, and I was trying to watch them both at the same time, but I've got to say I was absolutely mesmerised by the Frampton-Warrington fight. I couldn't take my eyes off it. I wasn't exactly ignoring the other one, but I couldn't stop watching. I thought it was such a high-level fight, and I hope that it sold well on their pay-per-view, because I just think probably, look, the heavyweight division is more glamorous, it's more sexy. They have the Sky platform to push it. They probably made more pay-per-view sales by some distance, I would imagine, for the Chisora Whyte fight than the Frampton-Warrington. And for me, the Frampton-Warrington technically certainly was a better fight. There's no question. It was 100% a better fight. I'll happily watch both of those fights again. Really, anyway, on the whole, I thought great night of boxing. One thing, if I have a criticism of it, I thought the Boatsy fight was a shambles. I thought it was a terrible fight to have as a chief support. It was like the one fight before the main event, and fights like that, to me, they belong at 4:30 in the afternoon. Not one fight before the main event. Quinlan, we've seen him against Eubanks, puffed up record, manufactured, does not belong in top of the bill fights. Complete. It's almost like fraud. That's how strongly I would phrase it. And Boatsy, bigger guy, walked through him. Like I say, that 4:30 in the afternoon, no problem. For a guy coming up, Boatsy's still coming through the novice sort of stage of his pro career. But yeah, not that far up the bill. I thought it did an injustice to the card, bearing in mind some of the good fights that they had on there. Charlie Edwards, what an absolute joy he was to watch tonight. I was really happy to see him get a win, West Ham boy. I thought he boxed phenomenally well. His tactics was superb. He stuck to his game plan despite some real pressure, and I was really happy to see him get a win. Anyway, guys, I'm going to bed now, so thank you for watching. Please hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed the blog, and I look forward to seeing you with more successful predictions very soon. Cheers for watching, guys. See you then. Bye-bye.